Regardless of what anybody thinks who hates me, you ain't gonna make or break me. Try to ruin my credibility and make me look fake, G. You're only gonna be in for a rude awakening, because sooner or later, all you haters are gonna have to face me. This is Mark Bell from SuperTraining.tv, Super Training Gym, the strongest gym in the West. I am fired up. We had another record-setting day at Super Training Gym. Yesterday's Dan Green hit a 2160 total, an 826-pound squat, 518-pound bench press, and smoked an 815-pound deadlift. Missed an 859 deadlift, which would have given him 2200. He finished the day with 2160 at 242 pounds, breaking the all-time 242 raw record. And if that wasn't enough, Eric Spoto bench pressed 722 pounds. Now, there's been a little controversy on whether he got a press command. On 716 pounds, is my belief, I was watching, I was not judging, I was watching, is my belief that on a 716-pound bench press, he did beat the press command. And we had a long discussion about whether we were going to turn the lift down. We decided to let's see what the hell happens on the next lift to determine what we're going to do next. And luckily for us, he got us out of a hole, and he nailed the 722-pound bench, and he did wait for the press command, and he did lock it out cleanly. Very clean lift. Not much could be said about that. Congratulations to you, Eric Spoto, for winning $5,500 from howmuchyoubench.net. One interesting point here is that Dan Green, myself, and Eric Spoto are all three people that utilize the slingshot. Speaking of the slingshot is now on sale. We have a special Father's Day package sale going on right now. You can look it up. I think it starts at $70, $75, and $80, somewhere along those lines. But basically, you're buying a Mad Dog, elbow sleeves, and a pair of wrist wraps, and you're saving over 20% on any one of those purchases. We have a question to answer here at the Power Project today, and this question happened a couple of weeks ago, but the guy rewrote in. He wrote back and he said, you know, I can really see what you're talking about when you mentioned the Ripito squat. Now, Mark Ripito is a coach, for those of you who don't know, a strength coach, and he kind of advocates that there's kind of two different styles of squatting. There's an upright posture with a high bar, and there's a low bar with a forward lean posture, with your head kind of down, looking 6 to 10 feet in front of you when you're in the hole, when you're in the bottom of a squat. And if you look at the way Dan Green cranked out his 826-pound squat, that is pretty much exactly how he did it. Now, Dan Green has the ability to kind of externally rotate his knees in a pretty crazy fashion. He's just brutally strong as well, strong and mobile. And so he's able to kind of do some things that I think some other people cannot do, even if they try their hardest. It'd be very difficult to mimic some of the things this guy's doing. It'd be like trying to mimic Barry Sanders. Remember Barry Sanders? Nobody could catch the guy. Nobody could get a hand of the guy. So it's going to be sometimes with some of these higher level athletes, very difficult to mimic what they're doing. But what I wanted to mention on that is I think a lot of people don't realize that if you have a high bar, if you're doing a high bar squat, it will be more difficult to try to utilize your lower back in the squat. You're going to have some good hips. You're going to have to be able to open up the hips pretty well to have that high bar, and you're going to also have to be able to stay upright. If you can this is for raw lifters. Things are different when you're in gear, because I carry the bar high and I use my lower back, but that's a geared lift, and that's a totally different story for another day. As far as a raw lifter goes, is my opinion that you want to try to get that bar as low as you can, and I think that is why you sometimes see these lighter body weight guys killing these enormous weights, because of the mobility and flexibility through the shoulders. They can carry the bar low. Ed Cohn, in fact, carried the bar so low they made a rule against it. You can carry the guys that are carrying the bar low, they can have a little bit of a forward lean, like they're a downhill slalom skier, like they're coming off, not a slalom skier, but they're coming off one of those jumps and they're leaning forward quite a bit. And as a squatter that's carrying the bar higher, if you're going to lean forward like that, you're going to kind of, as you go to come up out of the bottom, and you go whoop, and you get in that rounded over position, your hips are going to be too far away from the barbell, and more than likely it's going to be too difficult to finish a lift. Eric Spoto, Dan Green and Stan Efferding are two guys that have broken world records. There's been 3 world records broken in the last 2 super training meets. One by Stan Efferding, breaking the all-time 275 total. One by Eric Spoto with the 716 bench. And one by Dan Green. All 3 of those lifters have one thing in common, is they do not give a flying fuck what other people think about the way that they train. They train the way that they train because that is what is effective for them. Eric Spoto's training does enormous amounts of volume. He's changed his training up a little bit more recently, but that guy would go in there and he would do like 315 for a set of 25, 405 for a set of 15, 500 for a set of 10, and so on. He'd keep working his way up in weight and dropping the reps down. And by the time he got to his heaviest weight, like 635, he'd do a double or triple with that, something like that. And then he'd pyramid his way back up as he brought the weights back down again. Just insane. But he followed a plan. That's the way he used to train. He followed that plan, and he made himself stronger. He always performed clean reps. He had something set in his mind about the way that he was going to train. And he didn't accept hearing stuff from other people about how that's not going to work or that will not be effective. He made it work, and it worked well for him. I'm not advocating that's going to work well for everybody. Remember we talked earlier about, Barry Sanders. You got Barry Sanders, Bo Jackson, Michael Jordan. You can kind of put Eric Spoto in the same category as some of these mutants because he's doing things that nobody else has ever done before. And you're kind of riding that line of the human potential. So it makes you think like, okay, well, on top of hard work, dedication, and being strong and blah, blah, this guy's got some genetics. This guy's made out of something different than probably what the rest of us are made out of. Dan Green and Stan Efferding could not train any differently, in my opinion. Dan Green will squat 2-3 times a week. Dan Green squatted 806 on Monday or Tuesday, and came in and blew up 826 at the meet, 6-7 days later on Sunday. That's kind of unheard of in today's day and age in powerlifting. Normally guys take a full week off of training, and their last heavy squat, their last heavy deadlift oftentimes is about 14 days out. Dan also did a 905 block pull, or nearly got it. I can't remember whether he made the lift or not, but he tried like a 900-pound block pull just a few days before the meet as well. Stan Efferding, however, he would only really train really heavy, really push it about every other week. He'd push it real heavy every other week in the squat, push it heavy every other week in the bench, push it hard every other week in the deadlift. Whereas Dan Green is kind of going heavy all the time on all 3 lifts, basically whenever he can. I think I saw him do 485 for a triple, and again, that was just a couple days ago. He comes in the meet and smokes 2160. What's my freaking point? That's a good question. My point is this. My point is that these guys have found things that work well for them, and they do not accept external bullshit from other people and other coaches in telling them what will work and what will not. These are very positive and very driven individuals, and there's something we could learn, there's something we can all learn from them, and that is that you commit yourself to a plan and you stick to it. And you stick it out to the end. If that doesn't work, you start to incorporate other things, you start to pull things out, and you start to make something that is your own. You make something that'll work well for you. The Lillibridges, Eric Lillibridge, Ernie Lillibridge Jr., Ernie Lillibridge Sr., those are some other outstanding lifters that have developed a style that has worked well for them. They used to train a squat twice a week. They used to do this and that and mix up things differently, and then they would squat heavy one week, squat light the next, and so on. Now they only squat heavy every other week. They don't do a squat at all in the in between weeks, according to what they've said recently. Who knows? Maybe they're changing things up again. But the point is, find what works for you for that particular time. Stick it out. Make sure you're committing yourself to it before you just decide that it's not working. Make sure you commit yourself to it for a minimum of a month or 2. See if some of the stuff you're doing is actually working. If you feel like it's working, then continue on that path. Don't just listen to somebody talk about dynamic effort box squats and all of a sudden have workout ADD and go, oh, I got to do box squats. If box squats work well for you, then stick with them. If they don't work well for you, get rid of them. Try to simplify. Try to simplify some of this stuff. I just want to say congratulations to those guys. Congratulations to all the great lifting that happened at Super Training Gym. We had three guys get elite totals yesterday. We had Damon Thurman get an elite total in multiply gear. We had Torta get an elite total raw, and we also had Ryan Spencer get yet another elite total raw as well. I think that's all we had. And one thing about that I want to mention about Eric Spoto and Eric Spoto's bench form is that we altered it slightly a few weeks out from the meet. I've been communicating with him back and forth, and we talked about him dropping those weights down in there a little faster. Now, that's very difficult to do with the amount of weight that he is handling. But he was able to do it, drop the weight down there a little faster, get off of some of that muscle tension. You don't want to be so damn tight. Some guys can do that. Some guys can muscle through it. But I do think it can be a limiting factor in your bench, and I think it can halt your progress, and you want to try to avoid that. You want to try to drop those weights down in there and then really tighten up and really drive into them as hard as you can and almost throw those weights off your body. Get the lift over with as quickly as you possibly can. Multiply your muscle, multiply your hustle, and that is it from supertraining.tv.